All right, well, guys, today is an exciting day because we're going to try something new. So last week we talked about that we were going to try a small group activity. So this is going to be a little exciting, maybe a little scary, because I tried it yesterday with my Monday class, and it went pretty well. So we're going to try it here today in this class. So we're going to be doing we're going to be using what are called breakout rooms. So I'll explain that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the small group activity we're going to do today. Okay, so if you remember last week, we talked about when we read, one of the things we can do is think aloud. All right, so let's go back for just a moment. So when we talk about thinking aloud is part of what we call active reading. Okay, so if you remember, active reading is a way to help us be better readers in English. So many times when students read, we said they often just move their eyes, right? So I know sometimes when I like to read, I don't want to talk. I just want to read with my eyes. But you know, when we read with our eyes, sometimes we go like this and we fall asleep. Or sometimes the information goes in one ear and out the other. So the idea here is we need to be active. So we've been talking about how we need to use some of the same things we do when speaking to help us be better readers. Now, two things we've talked about in these last few weeks. One of them, if you remember, was called canvassing the text. Canvassing the text. Canvassing the text, remember, means to look for new words before we read and trying to guess their meaning. Maybe we use the dictionary, maybe we just try to guess by looking at the information. Sometimes we can guess, sometimes we can't. That's okay, but we need to help think about those words before we read. And then we also introduced the idea of think aloud, how to think, but basically speaking out loud so that we can hear. That's what we're going to be kind of reviewing a little bit today, and we're going to practice with our classmates. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the time to canvass chapter 2 of the Marco Polo story. So what I decided to do is I found some words that I think may be new for you, might be difficult. So what we're going to do before we do the activity is we're going to go ahead and look at some of those words, and we're going to practice them real quickly together, and we're just going to look at the short definitions. Okay? All right, so everybody, what I would like for you to do, okay, you don't have to turn on your microphone, it's okay, but what I would like for you to do first is just repeat the words with me. Okay, so again, you don't have to turn on the microphones, but just repeat them there at your computer or phone. Okay, so here we go. Let's try the first one. Authorities.
Authority.
Authorities.
Authorities.
Okay, let's say the next word. Journey.
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 Holy.
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 Okay, all right, now this next word's a little difficult to pronounce. Sepulcher.
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 Okay, the next word. Crucified.
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 Okay, and there are two words in the last one. Okay, let's say the last one. We'll say both words together. Friars and priests.
Friars and priests.
Okay, friars and priests.
Friars and priests.
Okay, now let me go back real quickly and go through the definitions. Okay, so again, authorities. Authorities means government officials. So people who work in the government, who are, you know, kind of important. Okay. All right, the next word, journey, is like a big trip, a long trip. So when you travel somewhere, a journey is a big, big trip. Okay, so for example, it is not a journey to Cincinnati. Okay, a journey would be maybe to another place around the world. So for example, in the story, remember there was a journey that they're going to take to China. Okay, all right, the next word, holy. Holy is a word that we often use in religion. So something that is holy means it is religiously important. you might know the word sacred. So, for example, people might call the Bible the Holy Bible, or the Quran maybe a holy book. Okay, so the idea is holy means religiously important. Okay. Okay, the next word, sepulcher. Sepulcher is just another word for a place where they bury dead people. So you might know like a cemetery. You know, cemetery is where they put dead people. A sepulcher is more like a kind of like a building where they might put a dead body inside. Okay. Now, often sepulchers have like important people, often religious people, inside of these places. Okay. The next
Excuse me,
word,
Mr. John.
yes, ma'am.
I cannot listen to you so good.
Let's see, Rihanna, I think your microphone might be cutting out a little bit. Rihanna, would you be able to turn your microphone off for a moment?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, just at the bottom there, just hit the microphone mute button. There we go. Thank you. All right, I think maybe just a connection problem. Okay, let's try the next one. Crucified. Now, again, for the Christian tradition, some of you know Jesus. In the Christian tradition, Jesus was killed on a cross. So if you look at the picture there, a cross looks like this. Now, of course, it was not just Jesus. It was other people living during these times in the Roman tradition. And the first part of the word cruce means cross. Okay, so again, for example, if you speak Spanish, you might know crucigrama is like a crossword, like using cross idea. So that's where the word cross comes from, cruce. And then finally, friars and priests are Christian religious leaders. They're just leaders of a church. So again, friars and priests are often associated in the Christian traditions. Okay, now the reason I'm telling you these words now is because you're going to see these words. In fact, sometimes you might see them 2 and 3 times in chapter 2. Okay, so everybody, let's say the words one more time. Again, you don't have to turn on your microphones, but let's just say them one more time. Authorities.
Authority.
Journey.
Journey.
Holy.
Holy.
Sepulcher.
Sepulcher.
Crucified.
Crucify.
Friars and priests.
Priest.
Okay, now again, some of these words you might have heard, some of these words you may never hear again. Who knows? Okay, but the idea is you will see these words in the story. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on. And the good news is I have this information in the document that you're going to be reading. So in case you forget, you can find these words in the document that we're going to be practicing with here today. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be doing in our small group activity. So for the rest of our time, we are going to do a small group activity, and we're going to practice this active reading strategy, and especially the idea of thinking but out loud. And we showed this in class last week, and I hope you had a chance to look at the homework from this past week, because I made a short video practicing a little bit of what thinking aloud is. Okay, now I'm going to ask for some help here. So for example, let's see, Shiho, would you read a little bit for us on this screen?
Yes, thinking aloud is talking your way through the test. It is asking questions when we don't understand something.
Okay, so again, when you see something in the text, everybody, you can ask yourself, what does that mean? Okay, all right, Shiho, continue, please.
Guessing the meaning of vocabulary words we don't understand or looking in the dictionary.
So remember, this is part of that vocabulary process we were practicing with. So again, I helped you with some words, but you might find other words today that we don't know.
Explaining something to ourselves using different words.
So sometimes we see a sentence that might be complicated or difficult for us, so we can try to use other words to explain it. Okay? And Shiho, read the last one there for me.
Thinking about information we learned before.
Now, thank you, Shiho. So now we're in chapter number 2, which means that we have to remember the information we've learned in chapter number 1. So if you remember, Marco saw his father and an uncle, hadn't seen him in a long time, and they were telling him this story. So we kind of need to think about, okay, I'm continuing to read the story. I need to remember. So maybe I remember some of this information. Now, this young lady, this picture you see over here, she is giving us an example of thinking out loud. So for example, one of the words from last week was escort. And escort, maybe if that was your word, you might remember that means like to go with somebody. So for example, if I escort you to the office, or if I escort you to this party, that means I go with you, right? So look at what she's doing. She says, so she's reading, right? So she says, so I think escort means to go with. Oh, so they were going to go with the ambassador to visit the emperor in China. So she's remembering. So in the sentence, if you remember, the sentence was, please escort me to visit the emperor. So what she's doing is she's talking to herself. She's thinking out loud because this is a difficult part of the story. So again, a think aloud is us talking our way through the text. Now, I am not telling you that it's a good idea to talk through every part of the reading. I don't know about you, but I couldn't talk my way through pages and pages and words and words for a long time. I would get tired. But the good news about a think aloud is we can use them when we need them. If I see something I don't understand, then I can talk to myself. That's what I like to do sometimes. Now, guys, when you're driving in your car, right? You're driving in your car and you're listening to music, right? Or maybe you're just talking to yourself. Do you do that sometimes when you're in your car? Do you talk to yourself when you're in your car? Do you think about, let's see, what am I going to do for dinner? Or what do I have to do when I get home? Do you do this? Does anybody talk to themselves in the car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
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 Do you guys look at crazy people driving?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes I see somebody they see in my face, and I try to talk like I'm talking in the phone.
Hey, yeah, yes, of course. Yes, I know exactly. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I understand.
We are thinking when
That's
are driving.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect time to think, isn't it? Of course, you need to drive. We need to pay
Yeah.
attention to the road. But I do that all the time. I talk to myself when I'm driving. So that's what we're doing here. We're talking to ourselves, but we're reading. Okay? So now we don't talk to ourselves all the time. I mean, Miriam, do you talk to yourself every minute you're in the car?
I don't talking, but I singing sometimes.
Singing? Okay, well, that's natural, right? But still, we don't do that all the time. I mean, if you're driving for 4 hours in your car, you're not talking to yourself for 4 hours. That makes you tired. Well, that's what a think aloud is. It's talking to myself when I need to talk to myself. So again, if I see something I don't understand, I talk to myself. If there's something I don't remember, I try to think about if I can remember, or maybe sometimes I go back and look at the information. So that's the idea. Thinking aloud is not something we do all the time. We do it when we have problems. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about. Now, the idea though is students don't always understand how to think aloud. So that's what I want to show you next. That's what we're going to be doing here in class, because today we're going to practice thinking aloud with a partner. And of course, we actually might have, we've got a lot of people here today. So actually, we might have groups of 3 people instead of 2 people. But the idea is we're going to practice this together with someone else. So the idea is to show us how we can be better readers by talking to other people in the group. So for example, what I'd like to do here is, let's see, Gisela, would you mind reading this next part for me?
Yeah. Think aloud with a partner. To help you understand this process better, we are going to do a think aloud activity with a partner.
Okay, keep going.
In just a couple of minutes, we are going to go into a breakout rooms, and we are going to read chapter 2 from the Marco Polo story together.
Okay, thank you, Gisela. Okay, now, for example, see these two people over here? Now, you might say, Mr. John, these don't look like readers. Okay, well, let's use we'll use our imagination. But for example, if you remember in chapter 1, Marco met his father and his uncle. So notice the man says, I don't understand why Marco doesn't recognize his own father, right? Remember, they met, and Marco was looking at him, and he didn't understand it. Well, look at what his friend does to help him. His friend says, remember, oh yeah, I forgot. Remember, he hadn't seen him in 12 years. See, remember in chapter 1, he sees his father and his uncle, but it's been a long time, right? So she's helping him remember this information. They're talking to each other. Oh, yes, of course, I remember this. So that's why reading sometimes with other people can be very helpful. Now, maybe you practice reading with your children. And sometimes your children might ask you those questions. See, it's a great opportunity. In fact, that's one thing I would recommend for everybody is read with our children, because this is a great way for you to practice more English a little, and then to practice too. But that's what thinking aloud is. So now, to help you through this process, your partner are going to read through the text together. So in a few minutes, when I show you the document, you will have all of chapter 2 that you will be able to read together. And I've divided them into sections, part 1, part 2, part 3, and so on. So that way each person can read the section out loud, right? So you're going to read it out loud, but if somebody says, wait a minute, stop, I don't understand something. Well, we can stop, and then we can ask questions. That's the idea. If we see something we don't understand, or if we need to talk about something, sometimes it's good just to talk, just to make sure we remember or understand the information. So guys, what I also have done for you is I've created just some helpful questions or phrases that you can use, okay? All right, now everybody, this time I want everybody to turn on their microphones. Everybody, turn them on. This is going to be crazy, but let's try it. Okay, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys, what does mean? Everybody,
What
does mean? No, you could say, what does escort,
mean?
right? Okay,
What does it mean?
okay. Let's try number 2. Everybody, I don't
I don't
understand.
understand. I don't understand.
That's an easy one, right? Everyone can say that one. Okay. All right, number 3. Who is?
Who is?
If you see a person you don't remember, who is this person? I don't remember. Okay. Number 4. Why is this?
Why
Is this?
If something is happening and you don't know why, you can say, why is this? Okay, and then finally, number 5. I remember something.
I remember something.
something?
So anytime you might see something you remember, or maybe even something for your own life, you might say, I remember something, right? Okay, excellent. Thanks, guys. You can turn your mics off for just a moment. Okay, so anyway, we practice those together. Excellent. Okay. All right, now, during this activity, guys, when we go to the breakout rooms, I'm going to put you in the breakout room, and then I'll get you started with the link to the document that you're going to use. But I will also come into the room from time to time and see if we have any questions. So sometimes I might just listen to you, and if you have any questions, you can ask me, or sometimes I might talk to you in the group. So that's the idea. The idea is I will be coming into the rooms to help you from time to time. Okay, so now we're ready to begin with the breakout rooms. So let me go ahead real quickly and tell you how the breakout rooms work. Now, if we have any problems, so for example, when I start the breakout room activity, last night when I tried it, I had 1 or 2 students who had some difficulty joining the breakout room. So if I have any difficulties, some of you may stay in the main room here. Okay, so again, don't worry, you'll get the chance to do something. So keep that in mind, that when we go to the breakout rooms, some of you, if you're using a phone or an iPad or a computer, it might be a little different, this process, okay? But the basic idea is the same. So first off, The breakout room is like a separate room that you're going to join. You don't have to leave this meeting. Instead, you will just join these breakout rooms. So it's kind of think about it like a small group. We're still in the same space, right? We're still in the same place, but we're kind of in small groups. So you're still connected to the main class. So when I put you into the breakout room, you will be with other students, and you can do many of the same things we can do here. You can chat, you can share the screen, you can use your camera. Now in this activity, you are going to need your microphones. So when we get into the breakout rooms, you'll have to turn your microphones on because you're going to be looking at the same document and you want to talk to each other. It's going to be difficult to chat using the chat box, so we'll have to use microphones for this activity. Now, when we're finished with the activity, I will bring you back into the main room. Okay, so again, it's very easy. You don't have to leave this meeting. You don't have to go to some other WebEx ID. You just will follow these steps. Okay, so for example, when I begin the breakout rooms, you will get a message on the screen, and the message will say, join. So it says you've been assigned to a breakout session, and then you will click on join. So when you're ready, you will join that and you will go immediately into another space. And then once you're in the session, I will come into each room. So you just have to wait a little bit. So maybe talk to each other, say hello, talk about your favorite ice cream. I will come into the room and I will share the link that you will need to be looking at. Now, everybody in the group will need to click on the link. So even if you're on your phone, iPad, computer, click on the link so that you can see the same information, okay? And remember, keep the microphones on so you can use them to talk, because you will be looking at the document and it may be difficult to kind of go back to switch to the WebEx room, to the controls. Now, if you do need to use the chat box or something else, with the document, first off, if you're using your phone, use it in, excuse me, use it in the portrait mode like this. Okay, now if you're using the computer, it's easy, but if you're using your phone or iPad, you might want to use it like this. But if you need to go back to the room, to the breakout room, to use the chat box, or if you need to turn on and off your microphone, you will notice that at the top of the screen, the little clock that you have here will be red. That means your microphone is on, and that'll take you back to the room if you need to turn the mic on and off or something, okay? You probably don't need to do that today, but that's to help you. So just remember, keep your phone like this and you can click on the top of it to go back to the breakout room if you need to use the chat box or something with your microphone. Okay, now when I finish, because again, I will be the one to end the breakout room session, all you have to do is click on leave session. Please do not, do not click on leave meeting. If you leave the meeting, then you're gone, you've left completely. So it's like you went out the door and we can't see you anymore. So just remember to leave the session. So that's the idea. You will join the session, practice with your friend, and then you will leave the session when we're finished. And I will send you, you'll see the message on your screen. Okay? Now guys, it's exciting. It's a little nervous to try this the first time. So in just a moment, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms. Now, I know some of you might have some microphone problems, okay? So all I can say is just do the best you can. Try to follow along. If your mic is not working, again, I'm going to try to put maybe 3 people in each group in case somebody can't speak or if we have any mic issues. But the idea is if we can use our microphones, let's try to use them if we can. Now, after I've assigned everyone, again, please just wait. I will come into your room and I will share the link in the chat box. And please remember, when you enter the room, make sure your microphones are turned on. A moment just to say hello to everybody. Introduce yourself, just something like that. Okay? Okay. Whew. All right. Okay, guys, are we ready to try this exciting adventure? Are we ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes.
Yes, we're ready. Okay.
Ready.
We're brave people. Do we remember that word, brave? Are we brave people?
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay. Okay. What I would like to do is just for a moment, I'm going to return to the story. Okay, so I'm going to put the story back on the screen. Okay, now remember, when it comes to reading, so that's what I want us to think about here this morning, that often reading out loud can help us. Now, sometimes I was listening in to some of the groups, and maybe we had some trouble with pronunciation. So again, that's a good opportunity to go again to a dictionary, to ask a friend, well, how do you pronounce this word, or how do we say this word? Of course, some of us, maybe we needed to go back and look at the vocabulary, see if I can zoom in a little bit, that we covered at the beginning. So again, for example, I came in and heard a few people, I don't remember what are priests or what are friars. So again, that we always need to, ask our neighbor, ask our friends if we don't know that. That's what thinking aloud is. It's stopping when we have questions if there's something we don't understand. Now, I would like to kind of go back and review the chapter next week in our next class, but I also want you guys to keep reading in the story. I hope we're starting to understand the story better. So I do want us to continue reading because I would like for us to finish the story before we leave for the holidays, before in December. So let me return to our presentation because our time is just about up here for this morning. So I hope we like the activity. I hope it was helpful, but I think it's also something we need to practice. Sometimes I would go into the room and I would just hear people reading, no questions, no talking. So we need to be more active. If we see something we don't understand. So one thing we're going to talk about next week is how we can be more active and sometimes take information and try to make sure we really understand it. So that's something we're going to talk about next week. Okay, well, guys, our time is up here for today. I will send you the next homework activity in your email. What I would like for you to do is to do an activity that's reviewing chapters 1 and 2. So again, that's chapter 1 we finished and chapter 2 we looked at today. And then I want you to continue reading in chapter 3. So I will put those links in your email so that you can practice with these for our next class. Okay? So again, speaking of our next class, we will be meeting again on December 1st. Gosh, it's hard to believe we're into December now. Well, anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. So I hope you do have a good Thanksgiving, maybe food or something that you're going to be doing. And again, we will continue discussing active reading next week. Okay, guys.